We'll just start with Kase.
Sure.
Just how do you describe the performance that you put out there for this team tonight?
Competitive, very competitive. Reminiscent last year of Will Helmer's. Sometimes I think when you get put in a situation like that where you're challenged, true competitors, I hate to say they rise to the occasion because he shows up to work every day. And he doesn't act like a freshman. He doesn't go about his business like a freshman. If anything, we have to kind of pull the reins back at times because he wants to get going. If you noticed that one of those innings out there, I had to send the signs in slower to try to get him to slow down because he's like a horse that just wants to run. So can't say enough good things about him, and certainly the way that the guys played behind him. And Luis for 3 days, just 4 days, whatever it's been, that just sitting back there and working constantly, keeping the ball in front, and doing a good job. And certainly I think for Kase, as well as those other freshmen that got a chance to taste it, it speaks dividends to really their development, because you don't get to simulate this stuff in the fall, and you don't get it in the regular season too. Just postseason with what this was, it's a whole different ballgame.
The long layoff, concern, or how did you guys sort of approach?
No, we had intended on using them in the third game in Hoover, so it was the way that it worked out. And when you start dealing with freshmen that have logged a lot of appearances, Rizzi, Schmidt, Williams, you try to be careful with those guys because it's a long haul when you start in September or August, and then all of a sudden you're here 8 months later. They've never gone through something like that with as rigorous as it is, and certainly I think this is probably maybe one of the biggest, if not the biggest, jumps that they'll make going from high school to competing against guys in some cases 22, 23, 24 years old who have 600 college at-bats under their belt. So there's a lot that goes into it. I just appreciate their competitiveness and their willingness to show up every day and work.
At one point he had Evans had 8 strikeouts straight. Was that something does that surprise you, or was it something that was just kind of brewing?
Well, if you stick around and watch the game long enough, you'll see something you've never seen before. So for those that haven't seen it, Anderson was doing the chart next to me, and he goes, that's 6 in a row, that's 7 in a row, that's 8 in a row. And I said, yeah, I can count. I'm keeping my chart too. But, it's nice. And I think that a guy like Anderson has really rubbed off on Evans, because Evans, he loiters down in that other end of the dugout during games to try to get every advantage that he possibly can. And I think that you see that investment in just understanding the game better pays dividends in nights like tonight.
Can you speak to just the difficulty of that Little Rock lineup and just how much focus it took to get through, these 18 innings?
Yeah, don't forget, when we evaluate teams, we look at it from a holistic point of view. That team was picked to finish second in their conference. They ran into some injuries. They're now getting their guys back. And anytime that somebody wins a conference tournament, you have to take them at face value. And they're competitive. They got guys in the middle that run around and cover some ground. They have some guys that put together some competitive at-bats. Cano down there, I guess he was saving some of his hits for the postseason, because when we're watching film and you're looking at the numbers, they kind of didn't add up. And that's why postseason baseball is so special. You get to see things that are just different than maybe the course of the season, and the sense of urgency that comes with it. You start to get that taste of the excitement.
Yeah, did that play discipline that they had kind of surprise y'all at first?
Yes and no. I mean, it's a cat and mouse game. There's guys that go in there with ideas of how they want to attack the starter, how they want to go about some things. They obviously had a decent game plan early on, and we made some adjustments. They tried to make some adjustments, so it's just back and forth. It's no different than basketball or football when somebody's got an idea of how they're trying to stop what you're doing, and you have to be able to go to the other side of the plate, go to a different pitch, do some things that maybe they're not particularly looking for. And I think with the effectiveness of what he was doing, we had him twisted there for a while, as evidenced by the results, where they were taking fastballs and fastball counts. They're swinging at changeups at times, and I think it opened the door for Anthony on the back end to be able to do some things differently too.
Yes, and for Anthony to do that, I mean, he's starting now. He had plenty of time to warm up back there, but for him to do that, and considering last year with the trip to North Carolina, Gage Chung, that's a huge spot for him, right?
Yeah, and I would say with Anthony too, when you look at his history, I don't know that there was more than a handful of starts at his last stop. He's familiar with pitching out of the bullpen, and he manages and monitors himself extremely well. I mean, it's a very big league approach to what he does and what he knows he needs to do. I went down there to check on him just to kind of gauge where he was at. He didn't even need to say anything. As soon as he looked at me, I'm like, all right, we're good. And just out of curiosity, I kind of looked at him and goes, I got it, I'm ready. And one of the bullpen catchers looked over at me like, it's there tonight. So, and they, they fought him. They battled him a little bit, but boy, he was sharp there at the end, and certainly glad that he's a Tiger.
What's allowed Kase to dominate in these moments that he's never experienced before?
Guy grew up in a baseball household. His dad knows the game probably as well as anybody, and he's run a great program for many years. His mom holds him accountable. She's been at a lot of the road games and making sure that not that he's a bad kid by any means, but just it's what moms do. They're never done being your mom. They keep you on the straight and narrow. So he's surrounded by people that care about him. He cares about this place. He cares about his teammates, and all he wants to do is just continue to create opportunities for them to play and for him to be able to go back out there and do it again.
One more for Coach. I heard you there say that kind of washes out the bad taste from last year in Chapel Hill, but not completely. Just how motivating was this tonight to kind of get right from that?
Yeah, as coaches, we take that stuff maybe more personal than teams do, because some of these kids weren't here last year. They don't know what that was like. But all I could see was him running through outs, and it kind of brought me back there while we were hitting to think about how well Helmer's pitched last year to put us in a position to go. And I'll say this, and I would appreciate it if you guys made sure that this one got out there. That's why you play at home. That's why you play here. This place tilts the playing field in your favor, and the energy, the excitement, the electricity, there is no place like it. I hear guys say that all the time about this place, that place. There's about 2 stadiums I haven't been to in college baseball, and I can promise you they're not on this level, but I've been to all the rest. There's some of them that might be as good on certain days, but there is nowhere better. And these people, they love baseball. And credit to Coach Burtman, all the players who have come before, and the staffs that have been a part of this, because, man, it's a special and magical place. Where else you see this many people at midnight on a Monday excited about buying tickets for next weekend?